And here we are together again. Thanks for that. Welcome to the Blue Files. My name is Anwar Knight. I'll be your host here. We have a great show all ready to go. We're going to look at the Goat Patrol, a new weapon to stop wildfires. Also, how crows have been trained to clean up after us. And we'll serve up a platter of bugs. Christina Stevens is my co host. Hey, you like bugs, right? Yes? No? Maybe?
Not a chance. No how, no where, dead, alive. No, no bugs for me. Thank you. Especially not when you say like serving them up. No, thank you. Thank you very much.
No.
No.
How about goats? Should we do something cuter then?
Goats are adorable. I actually want a goat. It's never going to happen, but I want a goat. They're actually also very useful when it comes to forest fires.
Hmm.
So every summer we hear it seems like there's a new record being broken, the biggest forest fires, the
Yeah.
most destruction, and not just summers. I mean, there was Colorado this winter. It's literally out of control. These fires that are out of control.
Yeah.
So of course the question is, how do you prevent these? Right? I mean, we're not stopping
Yeah.
or reversing climate change overnight, so there's a lot of discussion about just clearing out the most combustible things, the things that really cause these fires to spread. So how do you do that? Well, obviously you don't want to use chemicals for obvious reasons. There are
Yeah.
controlled burns, but those can get out of control, and all the smoke is pollution. A lot of these places you can't even get heavy machinery into. So
Right.
obviously the next thing that would pop into your head would be, what? Goats? Yes.
Bring on
No.
the
Okay.
goats.
Bring on the goats. So there are new businesses sprouting up, mostly in California, but
Yeah.
other states as well. And they're supplying herds of goats to landowners to clear out all of the fire starters. Now, this has been around for a while. There were a couple of small
Mhm.
companies, around for at least the last decade or so, but it's really started to hit more of a mainstream, actual bigger picture solution here. Now,
Sure.
they're perfect for the job because they like that stuff right at eye level, and they actually like all the dry stuff. It's not as easy as it sounds, though. You can't just, here's a couple of goats, let's just put them out in the field or in the forest and let them wander around. It's pretty old school and a bit of a production. So these companies will take sometimes
Yeah.
hundreds of goats in a livestock trailer. They'll take a person trailer to live in because you have to have goat herders and some dogs, plus the goat
Oh.
essentials, a water trough, electric fencing to either keep them contained or to keep them
Mhm.
away from sensitive plants and trees. And then they go with all the whole
Yeah.
the whole deal, and they put the goats out there. They work quickly. About 350
Mhm.
goats can clear an entire acre in one day. They eat those low
Wow.
branches, the brush, the scrub, the shrubs, and they'll even kind of mow your lawn right down to that nice. Hey, people, get a goat. You don't have to mow the lawn anymore. Down to that nice low level. And there's a bonus. After those goats
Yeah.
digest all that yummy dinner, their waste returns organic matter to the soil, and that increases its
Yeah.
potential to retain water. So it's all perfect, right? It is a
It's
bit
a
pricey,
win-win.
though, with all of that production.
Oh, that's
It is.
interesting. So there's a cost now. They
Yeah.
figured this out. Well, this is interesting. Tell me about
Well,
this.
there's actually a not-for-profit called Gotapelli
Mhm.
Foundation, which helps people start up these companies. And they say of, about
Yeah.
200 that have started this, they really only a handful are really making a go of it.
Sure.
Startup costs
Right.
could be around 350, 400,000 US dollars. Now think about it. You got to get all your goats, your goat herders if you're not
Wow.
experienced, all your supplies, and so the
Right.
landowners will have to pay a serious rate to have them show up, but
Mhm.
you know, it seems worth it. And even when you think of government
Yeah.
land, the costs to fight these forest fires,
Yeah.
the prevention seems
Well,
like a better deal, even if it is expensive.
and also, what is the cost to, for state officials to get in to do that stuff by hand? You think hundreds, in some cases, millions of acres. It's impossible, for crews to do it by hand. They just wouldn't be able to. By the time they finished one area, it's the end of the season, and they're back to square one. So this might be a way to do it. I just want to interrupt for those who think that Christina has a goat by her side because we're hearing the flop of the
Just
ears and the
about.
chain. That is her dog. I suspect, not a goat, that's sitting by your side. Mensch,
It's a
probably.
bad dog.
So I just
Maybe
want
I
to make
should get a
sure.
goat instead.
No, no, I know, Medj is a very good dog, but, Goats, I think, in many ways are truly suited for this. I don't know if many people know that goats have a four-chambered stomach, which in essence helps them separate all the grub that they eat so it can be digested efficiently. And you mentioned, and everything comes out on the other end like anything else, but that's also going to be good for the land. But I was also reading that depending on where they are, even the motion of their hoofs into the soil is also, stirring things up, and it creates little indentations for maybe some other seedlings of, some other type of species of tree that may be blown in by the wind. So mega droughts and heat waves are a big, big concern. So if you can get goats to come in and they're very efficient, they eat up all the flammable leaf litter, the dry branches, it does make a difference. And you know what? I think seriously, this could become a solution as we continue to navigate, extreme conditions, especially into the desert southwest of the US, that this may be a way to
Across
do it
BC.
because,
Enough. They bring them here
well, that's,
across
yeah,
BC. You talk to anyone who went through all the
yeah,
forest fires the last couple of years, and even
yeah,
here where they weren't so bad, we got all the smoke still. It's
yeah, that's
it's
right.
a major life impact, not just on the forest and the bigger picture stuff, but on people's daily lives. Last
Yeah.
summer, a lot of communities really didn't see much sunshine, just smoke, you know?
Because of the
So,
smoke. Well, I
yeah.
I think it's great. I'm going to continue to, I'm going to put that sort of in our agenda book to see if, there are some stories in Canada that are using goats now in terms of fire mitigation. So I think that's fantastic. Let's get to our next story. Now, the stars of this story are not nearly as cute as goats. They aren't bugs. Some would say they may be a little creepy, but they are doing something never done before. There is a company in Sweden that has trained crows to pick up discarded cigarette butts from the streets. And although it's still in the testing phase, they've been using what they call a crow box. And it essentially is a vending machine for crows. They use this to train them. So, what happens is that when they drop a cigarette butt into this little chute of this device, they get a peanut. It's the reward. And, and I have to point out here that they're still wild crows. They go where crows sort of hang out, and they just try to put this little device and try to connect the dots. If they pick up something, they get this, and then they sort of train them on what you're actually looking for. And crows are very, very smart. But I thought, how cool is this? And some may say, well, hold on, what about, them putting, these little filters in their mouth? There's lots of poisons in that. We know that. And that is something they admit research needs to be done, because the last thing they want to do is to harm these birds. Um, but what a unique concept. It's happening on the streets of Sweden.
And it's cost effective. It only costs peanuts, literally peanuts. Sorry, I had to.
Literally.
Um,
No,
literally peanuts.
that's a part of it, though,
Yeah,
saving to the municipality.
I wonder though, if it's a busy city and you've got like
Mhm.
crows dive bombing the sidewalks, you know what I mean? Although that could be a good deterrent, the people that gather around an exit door and they all smoke together, the crows will figure that out pretty quickly and maybe they'll discourage them. They'll just start dive bombing
They
before
move
they're even
in.
done. But I mean, this is
You
actually a pet
know
peeve of mine. The cigarette butts. Why do people not
Yeah.
understand? It's litter. Would you throw your,
Well,
chocolate bar wrapper on the ground? No. So why that?
yeah.
It's
The cigarette butts are in fact the most abundant form of plastic pollution on
yeah.
the planet. They say there's over 4 trillion individual butts that are being tossed every year. And as I mentioned, the cigarette filters contain lots of poisons, and they take decades to decompose. They'll have arsenic, lead, and nicotine. But to your point, that might be a concern because crows are not little dainty little birds. If they're moving in, I don't know. Um, but Sweden says that they have a problem. 62% of the country's litter is cigarette refuse. So this could reduce street cleaning costs. The company says they think this might be an answer globally. Some other countries, cities may say, let's explore it. I just thought it was fascinating to say the least.
And honestly, I wouldn't have thought of teaching crows. But when you think about it, I mean, birds are used for other things, getting rid of other birds on runways, that kinds of things. So I guess you could
Mhm.
train a crow. It's a good idea. I like it. Two
Well,
thumbs up for the
w
crows.
w So we're setting up a parade here. We got the goats, we got the crows. We need to finish this up by serving up some bugs, Christina.
Going from the cutest to the ugliest. So we hear all about climate change, use less, do less, take less of this. But you know what you
Yeah.
could have more of, assuming you already eat some, you could eat more insects, and that
Bugs.
would help the
Yes.
environment. Isn't that great? So most of us know that when you consume animal proteins, it's really adding
Yeah.
to all the greenhouse gases and therefore climate change, or even some of the alternatives that vegetarians or
Mhm.
vegans like tofu and beans and things like that. There's still quite a cost to the processing and the growing of these.
Right.
So now there's a new push that the big solution to getting protein that's also environmentally correct, good for you, it's everything, are insects. So they've shown with studies that you
Mhm.
get about the same amount of protein. So in an insect, whatever, per 100 grams, you get about 10 to 25 grams of protein. And with your most meat products, it's
Wow.
17 to 21. So a bit more of a variety, but all in the same range, and in some
Yeah.
cases more.
Yeah.
Um, and in case you're wondering, to get specific, to get the most bang for your buck, the most protein, I'd
Yeah.
recommend crickets, mealworms, even certain ants. And if you're grossed out by this
Mhm.
whole idea, one way is to use insect protein powder. So a lot of people use protein powder in a
Right.
shake in the morning or a smoothie. So just replace whatever that source of your protein powder is now with insect powder. Yeah,
Well,
so they take less feed, less water, there's less
yeah.
transportation costs.
Less
And it's getting
space.
to the point where it's essential. I mean, some of the experts are predicting with
Yeah.
the growth of population, by about 2050, there'll be something like 10 billion people on the earth, and there won't be enough
Mhm.
proteins grown in any form
Yeah.
to feed them. So, hey, why not insects?
Well, listen, clearly, we know this is not gonna be for everyone, I get that, but if even a fraction of people at least consider it, I mean, there's gonna be a benefit for the planet. I was looking up one major cricket producer said that it takes about 8 square meters of land to grow a pound of crickets compared to 115 square meters to grow a pound of beef. So, I mean, listen, that's a fact. And agriculture is one of the biggest drivers of natural destruction, right? It's threatening 85% of the 28,000 species that are at risk of extinction. We know that deforestation, as you talked about moments ago, you know, forests are being taken down because they want to do whether it's palm tree sort of farming or for cattle and beef in Brazil. So I think it's interesting if you sort of step away from the fact that it's a little tiny little critter that normally crawls on the floor or under a rock. I mean, I've eaten crickets.
I
They
know
were.
you have. I
Uh,
was going to get
you
there.
didn't.
They were
You
crunchy.
refused to
Of
eat
course
it.
not. Are you crazy? They were crunchy, weren't they? No, thanks.
They were crunchy, but they were tasty. They were crusted over with I forget the flavoring on it. And I mean, you're a vegetarian, right? Is it vegan or vegetarian?
Trying to be vegan, trying very hard, but I fail sometimes. So, but strictly vegetarian. So, I
Which means
guess
you
I
can eat
don't know.
this. They're
Vegetarian,
technically
maybe
animals
vegan,
because they're
definitely no. So
arthropods.
definitely, yeah, no. I just anything that can transport itself or look at you, forget it. No. Yeah, I do want
Ants.
to point out though, a lot of this, what we eat and don't eat and think is okay or
Yeah,
tasty, is culturally driven, right? So there's at least
very true.
about a dozen countries around the world that, a lot of them are in
Yeah.
Africa, some in Southeast Asia, where, eating certain kinds of insects or things like that are just part of the deal, so it's no big deal. So a lot of it, I think, is just,
That's
well,
right.
of course, it's in our heads how we perceive something, right? That this is
That's
what
right.
we do
That's
or
what I'm
don't
saying.
do.
I know a lot of people say forget about it, but I think there will be a shift. The European Union approved the sale of insect based food for humans for the first time in the union's history. There's a French company apparently that's selling dried yellow mealworm, and apparently it tastes like peanuts. I don't know. But at the end of the day, it's just a matter of people saying, I'll try it. Just let me try it. And then you make a decision. You may not like it, maybe you do. And I think ultimately, if enough people do, it's still going to have a beneficial impact on our planet. I'll just leave it there. I know we're not going to convince everybody,
So
but
I'm not doing it, but I sincerely believe that even 20, 30 years from now, it'll
yeah.
catch on and be a lot more commonplace. I really I think a lot of other people would be, "Hey, fair
Yeah.
game, I'll try it," right? And if it's good, they'll eat it. Not me, just to be clear.
After
Sorry.
my experience with the crickets, I would be game to try something else. I really would. I don't want something squishy. I don't want like a big mealworm that's gonna, his guts are gonna blow up in my mouth. But if it's dried and stuff, I would be totally open to exploring it again. And
I am
I'm
going to
excited
find
about that.
something, send it to you, and you're going to do it on the show. We'll watch
Okay,
you.
that's a challenge. As
Okay.
long as it's not like squishy guts, right? As long as it's dried, I'm game. I will do that. That's a
Okay.
deal. I like this. Now I'm getting hungry.
Oh, gross. See, now I'm not
Christina,
hungry. No, thank you.
always great to see you. And I look forward to our next episode. And maybe we'll be eating together digitally. How's that sound?
Not together. You'll be eating the insects. I won't.
Okay.
But we'll see you then.
Christina, Christina Stevens joining us from the West Coast. Thanks so much, Christina. And thank you for watching. We appreciate your time. Please support this web series. If you're watching it on YouTube, we're always open to your comments. Please like and subscribe. Help us grow. And if you're watching this on Facebook, like, love, share, and follow my page. We look forward to having your company next time right here on the Blue File.